Alright guys, the first thing we're going to do to this new mini sport bike is we're going to remove, this was a performance one, but I never like these because they say they're no rev limiter, but I found they do have a rev limiter. So I'm putting that one aside. We are going with the blue one. These are more or less for built motors. These take off the entire rev limiter on the scooter, allowing it to hit peak performance and not have a rev limiter. So installing this is basically go until you blow. So we're going to hook this one up, CDI connection, then we're going to check the green light on that side and make sure that we're getting spark and it starts up just fine. And the next thing we're going to do is modify the carb right out the hole. I'm going to pull this carb and clean it real good because it looks like it needs it. I already tore a big chunk out of my finger here. I'm kind of pissed about that, but it is what it is. So I've got this loosened. We'll clean the carb because you can see right there it's all dirty and grimy and this thing's having an issue starting easily. So we're going to clean the carb. I'm also going to pull off the vacuum slide. We're going to give this thing a little bit more fuel because it seems like it's lacking on fuel. So I'd rather have it running rich than lean. So what we're going to do is clean this thing real good, clean the jets out, give this thing a really good cleaning, and then we're going to take the C-clamp inside of here and I'm going to show you how to modify this so that it gets a little bit more fuel. And then we'll test it, see how it does. We're aiming for easier startups because it's kind of a rough startup on this thing. And I do not want a rev limiter anymore. I want to be able to take this thing to its peak performance and see what speed we can actually get out of this. So this is obviously an easy installation. Put on the wires and then start it up, see how it does, and then we'll go from there. So, all right, I've installed it, tucked it back up into the bike. It goes way back up in there. I know you guys can't see it, but whatevs. All right. See if this thing cranks. Give it a little bit of fuel because I haven't cleaned the carb yet. That's one start. Let's give it a little bit more. There we go. All right, it seemed to have accepted that pace. You can see that the carb takes a minute to really warm up and get going here, though. Kind of frustrating. So that's what we're going to work on next. Yeah, we're gonna work on getting this thing to start up easier and idle easier and all that good stuff. So let's do that. Let's do that. Got some pain in the ass screws that don't want to come out and you keep twisting the head off. Impact driver and a hammer. Put those on there. We'll reform this sucker real quick, right? Let's have some fun. That's how it's done. Impact driver, best friend. So here's the deal. This is a new carburetor. The stock carburetor is non-serviceable. As you can see, the screws on the bottom are not there. This is how you know that this is the original stock carburetor that came on that bike. And you can see it is very dirty. Even on the inside, it's just trash. So we're going to go ahead and just give this thing an entirely new carburetor. And yeah, we'll go from there. But this one should have good jetting, but I'm going to go ahead and adjust the C-clamp inside here, and I'll show you guys what I'm doing so you can catch up and figure out. I'm going to adjust the needle valve and how much fuel is coming in when it first starts up, because this bike can get more fuel. I know it can, and we're going to give it some more fuel. And yeah, because I think it'll be a happier bike by doing that. So let's tear this carb down real fast. So the first thing we're going to do, I don't know if you guys can see in there, is a Phillips head screwdriver. I need to grab a Phillips head. We're going to back that out so we can adjust this needle and how high it sits. Just give me 1 sec. Want your scooter to have a little bit more fuel. Think she's breathing hard? Make an adjustment. Oh, this one's gonna put up a fight. There we go. Got it loose that time. Unscrew this. Set this aside. Okay, we're gonna drop that screw out of there. There we go. There's everything I need. Get this up here. Come on, there we go. Alright, so yeah, as I suspected, this is set too high to get good fuel. So there's 2 more notches down I can go. So how this works basically is you're going to pull this off here. We're going to move it down 1 notch. By moving it down, it adjusts the needle ride height, so it'll let more fuel in when you're first starting it. It'll also let more fuel in on top end. So what we're going to do is grab our pliers. This can be a painstakingly annoying little job. And we're going to pull that off there, and we're going to move it down 1 notch right there. And we're going to see if we can squeeze that on there with the pliers, or if it's going to be easier just to put it down here on this like so, which it probably is. Yeah, it looks like this is going to be the easiest bet. We're just going to put it down here so the washer's flat, the C-clamp, and we're just going to give a push until it slides on there. So I'm going to use this little flathead to shove it on. There it goes. So now we've adjusted it down. There's only 1 more notch it can go, so if I still feel like it's not getting enough fuel, I can still move that down 1 more. So it's a lot more fuel in. Alright, so what we're going to do now is drop the needle back in, which raises the needle height. So the needle's back in. We're going to drop this thing back in there too, which can be kind of an annoyance. So let's just hope this settles on there like it should. There we go. So that went back in there. Now we're just going to move this over until I get to the part where I have the screw hole lined up. Keep using the wrong one. That's magnetic. I can't keep doing that. Let's see. Let's just use this little zip tie here to line this up. There we go. Now we'll go ahead and put this screw back on this tip if I can. Hopefully it stays. If it doesn't, this will be quite frustrating, but whatever. It looks like I got it on there enough that it'll stay. I just need to get it down there into the hole. Looks like I made it. There we go. Screw that back in. So now we've raised the needle height. I was going to clean the carb, but not necessary. This is a brand new carb, so I shouldn't have to adjust anything. So we're not taking the bottom of this off. We're just adjusting this needle height inside here. So we've got a little bit more to work with. Make sure the needle's nice and straight in there. So that should slide back in. Clean up our vacuum slide here. We've been touching it. There we go. Now we're going to drop this back down into there if I can. And now we're just going to line up that little nub with that nub hole like so until that slides in perfectly. Then next comes the spring. Put our 2 screws aside. Set this down so I can mess with this with one hand. Doesn't matter which way this goes, just make sure that little piece on the bottom fits into the spring so that it holds it. Make sure your spring isn't sitting cockeyed at all. And then tighten this puppy back down. There we go. Everything just settled. So now we'll tighten these screws. I don't know why these were so tight. I've never had a new carburetor have such tight top screws, but this one did. So now we have no rev limiter, and we've added more fuel and a new carburetor. This thing should start up pretty freaking easily, I would think. So we'll pop this carb back in there, put everything back together. Yay! Make sure that's nice and tight, and that's nice and tight. Okay, let's go reinstall this new carburetor and see how it runs after a new carb, right? Right. Alright, new carb has been installed on there, as you can see. I set everything. Should be able to open the throttle now and open and close it pretty easily. Looks good to me. Everything seems set correctly. Ride height, all that seems good. Not too much tension on this. Should be good. Let's. It's going to take a second to get this thing cranked up again because there's no gas in that new carb. So let's set the camera down, start a recording, and see if we can get this thing cranked up on the new carb and see how easy it cranks up now. So that looks a lot better. Yeah, new parts. Right out the whole new parts. That carb is almost a year old. So okay, let's. So now we have no rev limiter, and we have a new carburetor that's been modified to handle a little bit more gas. Next up, we'll be doing some CVT tuning down here. I'm going to clean that case a little bit now that I got some spray all over everything. I was cleaning as I went. So set this down, start a recording, and see what it takes to get this bike to start now. Matter of fact, I could probably just do it standing up here. Yeah, you know what? We will. Let's open it up a little bit and see what it takes. Oh, wow, she wants to go. Like I said, it's going to take a minute. Carb hasn't had any gas. Let off the gas. May have to get a little bit of starter fluid to get her going. We'll see. Make sure I got everything connected correctly. Fuel line on there. Yep, good to go. Good to go. Alright. Let's keep going here. There it is. Just going to hold the brake just so it doesn't take off. Oh, it already sounds 1,000 times healthier. It's idling very good now. Yes, it's got a beautiful idle. So now we're going to wait for the enriching valve to come off. Oh god, it sounds like 1,000 times better. It's actually a fairly good idle. However, it's just a little bit high, so we're going to take it out, back it out a little bit. Right there. Beautiful. Alright, I'm going to go take it for a rip, see how it does. So yes, the takeoff is a lot better since we changed the carb over. It's got a lot more pull out the hole now. You can see it. It's just getting more gas, which is what it's been wanting, more fuel. So if I give her the beans, it preloads really well. Yeah, a lot better. There you go. At idle, sounds extremely healthy. Let me back this out a little bit. Sounds really healthy. And now I can actually blip the throttle and it takes it without stalling. Right, she's ready to rip, Chip. So, not much speed gain. I think I only gained like 2 miles an hour. But it's alright. It's running a lot better than it was. It sounds healthier now. Exhaust smells good. We'll check that plug tomorrow, see how that looks. I want to make sure we're not running it lean either. But we're also going to change this oil because it needs it. Definitely needs it. So, and then we'll probably upgrade the shock on this thing because I'd like a little bit more of a better suspension back here. I've got an air ride adjustable pressure shock that I want to pop on here. So we'll see. Right now it's running good. I wanted to make sure I got everything up and good for driving around on without worrying about whether the scooter's gonna have issues or not. And she's ready to rip, Chip. So